When it comes to listings, they're not easy to come by. You actually have to go out there and get them yourself. But once you master the art of going out there and getting it yourself and generating your own business, you're fed for life at that point. The tougher the conversation, the more advanced it is, the closer that lead is to actually transacting.
Everyone wants to start with expireds and withdrawals, but they don't have the reps. They don't have the skills yet.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Level Up Podcast with myself, Greg Harrelson. This is where I focus on taking you from agent to entrepreneur. As you know, I have a passion for developing agents. And on today's episode, I'm going to share another quick strategy on how you can increase your production. I'm going to be real, so you be ready. Let's level up.
Now, when I talk about circle prospecting, what I'm talking about is getting a lot of reps, getting comfortable having conversations. That's what this all boils down to. Getting comfortable having conversations. But I don't mean that you're going to circle prospect for your whole career every single day, and that's going to be the basis of you building a business. That's not what I'm even trying to coach here. I'm trying to say that there's a process. Just like there's a process. When you're born, you tend to lay on your back and look at the sky. And then eventually you learn how to roll over to your stomach and lift up your head. And then you kind of headbutt the ground a few times. And then you learn how to sit up, but you fall over. But then you learn counterbalance and you start sitting up straight. Then you learn how to pull yourself up. Then you learn how to work yourself around the coffee table, continuing to hold on the coffee table. Then you learn how to let go of the coffee table and fall. Then eventually you learn how to let go of the coffee table and take a few steps and fall. Then you learn how to let go of the coffee table, take 10 steps and reach your parent's hand or whoever your loved one is that's on the other side waiting on you. And then you learn how to actually take a few steps, fall, and stand up without pulling yourself up from the table. And then you start the process of learning how to run. And then you start the process of learning how to dance. And the key is, it's a process. There was a death row statement, not a death row statement. There was a study, and I can't remember if it was Harvard or Stanford. It's an old study. You can Google this to fact check me if you want. There was a study done on death row inmates. And one of the things that the study found is that one thing that was common amongst death row inmates was they had actually skipped the process of crawling and they went straight to walking. And the process, what they concluded about this is that every step that I just shared with you, to walking, running, to dancing, was very critical for the development of the mind. In each phase, the mind was developed a little bit differently because of the perspective and the view that one would have on the world at that moment. And so because they skipped part of the process, the brain was developed a little bit differently. And they found that that was something to be common. I actually find something to be extremely common with real estate agents. When they want to pass go without going around, they want to collect their $200 without a passing go. It's like, great, why don't you just tell me to call the expireds? Because you haven't done enough reps to handle the conversation yet. Jamila caught my attention. So just going to ask her mom right now if she crawled. That's funny. I like that. Yeah, I never asked my dad that. Maybe I should ask that too. That was funny. Thank you for that little comment there. But I see it with real estate agents, Abe. I see real estate agents wanting to they want to get there overnight. Like, well, let me just do what the top agents are doing.
Right.
Can I just skip and do what they're doing right now? No, because in order for them to do what they're doing and do it well, they had to go through what I'm telling you to do right now. So if you want to get to where other people have gotten, then you've got to do what they did to get there. And if anyone knows what it took to get there, it's Abe and I, because we've coached a lot of these agents to be top listing agents. So now I've got you to go do some just sold calls, circle prospecting. Now what I want you to do is focus on this. Let's just say that we went through a process. You did that for a month. You got a good bit of reps under your belt. Now what I would want you to do is I'd want you to call rent bows for rent by owners. Now there's a reason why I'm choosing for rent by owners as the second pillar to add. And here's the reason. The reason is because nobody calls them in your market. And if you tell me somebody's calling, then it's like one other person. Nobody's calling them in your market consistently. And it's such an easy script. We teach it in Agent Success Academy. The script is very simple. You could just say, hey, Abe, it's Greg Harrelson here with XYZ Company. Hey, I just saw your ad, for a property for rent. Is that still available? Yes, it's still available. Okay, great. Well, I'm not looking to rent it, and I'm not trying to get a rental listing, but I was just kind of curious. I work with a lot of investors that are looking to add to their portfolio. In the event that you were not able to get the property sold, rented anytime soon, or maybe the rental market was to soften, have you put any thought to selling within the next couple of months? Then they say, no, Greg, I'm not thinking about selling. Well, here's the cool thing about rentbos. I can ask a rentbo when they plan on selling their investment. And if they say, no, I'm not planning on selling, it says, oh, okay, well, good. I assume that you're probably still looking for some investments. I'm kind of curious if you found a good property. Are you looking to add additional properties to your portfolio? You see how I take that one call and I can treat them as a potential sales call, meaning like to try to get a listing. And in the event that they're not thinking about selling, I can immediately shift on the same exact conversation and talk to them about whether or not they're a buyer.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to them because you work with investors. So of course you would find properties. So it's a logical script. And on top of that, if you end up with nothing after the call, going back to what Abe said, you actually are now adding them to your database. And a high percentage of these people will have multiple properties. These people are always trading properties. They're buying and selling probably every 2 years. They're adding and taking away and replacing, repositioning. So you want these people in your database because this could produce come list me calls and repeat business in the future. But the reason why it's a low barrier of entry to a higher quality lead or a higher quality call versus a circle prospect. You see, now we're starting to crawl, or now we're starting to sit up. That's the whole point here. If you want to develop a listing business, there is a process for it, and we have to be patient and follow the process. So rentbos are a fantastic way to go.
I'll add Fizbos to that as well, Greg.
Yeah.
Yes. So the whole idea right now is, look, we're trying to teach you the framework to building a listing-based business, right? The biggest difference between a listing-based business and a buyer-based business is with the buyer-based business, you can be fed. Like you can get many companies, many brokerages that'll give you buyer leads all day long because those are easier to come by. When it comes to listings, they're not easy to come by. Like you actually have to go out there and get them yourself. But once you master the art of going out there and getting it yourself and generating your own business, like you're fed for life at that point. So the first 30 days or the first month or so, you want to call circle prospecting to get the to get the practice in, get them reps in, get the confidence built up. Now, as the confidence is built up, now you start adding things like a Rempo or a Fizbo. And then little by little, your conversations are so much better, right? So we wanted to give you a little bit of confidence up front. Like to give you a football analogy, it's for the longest time, with the exception of the last couple of years, when a team would draft a quarterback, they would never start them as a rookie in their first year. Because experience was you put in a brand new young kid as a rookie, and the quarterback position is such a complicated position, and they have a couple of bad games to start, their career is pretty much ruined. So they would sit there and put into the motions. They sit behind a quarterback and practice certain things before they hit the field. It's no different with lead gen. If you want to become a listing agent, you can't just open up the door day one and say, let me go straight to new expired. Because most agents are going to get crushed immediately, lose their confidence, and then before you know it, they don't make any calls. So this is the framework of what it takes. Now, of course, in our coaching program, we dive in and really give you the specifics and the details on what to say in the scripts and how to handle objections and everything that you need, but we can't do that in 1 hour. So by the second month, you're adding like a Rempo, you're adding a Fizbo, because those are still somewhat fairly easy conversations as you're building up your confidence level to go to the next step.
Yeah. I like what Jeremy puts in there. Hey, Jeremy, hopefully you're doing a lot of hiking. I always see you hiking and I always pay attention to where you're hiking. But anyways, he puts in there, The Furbos are full commission. That's great, but the main thing that you put there that I so agree with is there's less competition. So sometimes we've got to look where others are not looking to find what others are not finding. It's very, very important. It's just simple concepts like this that make the difference in building a listing-based business. All right, so let's go a little bit further, Abe. Let's go to why don't you take the next one? Repos.
Yeah, so step number 4, we just did repos, right? Yeah. Step number 4, again, you're building your way up to, I don't want to say more complicated conversations because that's going to scare some people. Let's just say, if you're looking at a tree with the most
maybe advanced, more advanced conversation.
Yeah, it's more advanced conversation, but it's also the tougher the conversation, the more advanced it is, the closer that lead is to actually transacting.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, the lowest hanging fruit is going to have the most people going after it, right? So circle prospecting, the percentages of getting a listing immediately are going to be low. There's going to be less people out there. As we're progressing, repos is a little bit better. By the time you get to old expires, month number 3, we want you to start calling old expireds. Okay, because those are people that have been on the market, say, within the last 2 years, but never sold. Right? Those aren't going to be quite as advanced as a new expires, but those are conversations now by the month 3 of you've had a couple of thousand calls under your belt, you can handle that conversation. So you can get services like a RedX, like a Vulcan, that'll give you history going back a couple of years of people that were on the market, failed to sell, and still have it listed with someone else. And those are the people you start calling now. Okay, and then plus you've got the database that you've been slowly building up over the last couple of months that you're going to check in on. So by month 3, I would add old expireds, anything from 6 months old to as far back as 2 years old, to your as a new pillar for you. So now you're 3 or 4 pillars into lead gen.
Yeah. And, one thing I'll just add, I think I'll just say it maybe a little different. Like one thing you can do is with old expires, like let's just say it's October. Then what you do is you go back last October. Go back last October and look in your MLS for all the expireds and cross-reference to see, did they come back on the market and sell, or are they on the market now? And if they sold or are on the market right now, obviously do not call them. But there's going to be a lot of them that are not going to be on the market right now and never sold. That's what we're talking about as an old expired. So what you can do is every month, you can pull those. And so right now, I pull those from the previous October. In November, I've got my Octobers because I've still got those people now in my database that I'm calling. In November, I go back to the November from 12 months ago, and now I've got Novembers. And each month, I keep adding another month on because each month is 12 months behind. So I just do that. And so every month, I keep actually calling the previous year, same month, the previous year. That's what I do. And here's the key. There's no competition in those. Real quick, Abe, Hunter Hammonds asked the question, and it caught my attention. Is there a ballpark ratio for a contact to lead when circle prospecting around absentee owners and vacant homes? Well, first of all, absentee owners, there's always going to be a higher conversion ratio because fewer people actually work them. Okay. And because a lot of times, depending on what kind of market you're in, if you're in a market like, say, Arizona, and you're talking about absentee properties, and those people live across town, they might be like annual rental properties. That property's like a business to them. So when I'm calling them, I'm kind of talking to them, hey, how's the rental market? How's this? How's that? Speaking to them about the business of that property, asking them how is the returns on that property, and talking to them, hey, look, if you could reposition your equity from this property to another property and get a better return, is that something you would consider doing? Would you consider selling if there was another investment out there? That type of dialogue with absentee owners gets a lot of attention, and people will stay on the phone with you a lot longer And if you can deliver value to them in the conversation and they don't do something, they definitely welcome being in your database and welcome future conversations. Those are the ones that are easiest to get to become come list me calls later on in the future. And the same thing applies. Like we today live in Myrtle Beach. So our market is our direct market is Myrtle Beach. Now I know all kinds of different markets because I own offices and have teams in non-vacation markets, but it also applies to anybody that's in a resort market. There's always going to be a good return on your calls around absentee owner market. Okay, did you complete?
Let me add something to that, Greg, as well. Hunter, one thing and all of you guys out there, one thing to keep in mind, and this is something that you have to ingrain in your mind because I think it's important to your psyche when making calls to no matter who your lead source is or pillar is. 7% of every property owner is going to sell a property in the next 12 months. 7%. So I don't care who you call. I don't care what the person is telling you, whether it's a no, whether it's a hard no, a soft no. You got to keep in mind 7% of every seller out there, that's what the numbers point to. Anywhere between 6 and 8% is going to be selling within the next 12 months. Now, if you're following our coaching and doing what we tell you, not only are you making contacts every single day, you're building a database. So that number, if it's 7% in the next 12 months, then obviously over 18 months, it's even more. Over 24 months, it's even more. Over 36 months, 48 months. As long as you're building this database every single day and talking to people every single day, not only are you going to get the 7% or much of it, you're going to get them over 2 years, 3 years, over a 5-year process. You're going to get a lot more come list me calls over time. So you got to just keep making the contacts every single day, talking to people day in and day out. Yeah. And there was a question about 35 to 50 daily contacts not matching number of conversations. I'm not sure I understand that because a contact is a conversation. So I'm not sure what I'm missing on that question.
Yeah. I'm not
reading it. Are you reading it differently or?
I don't see the question. Is that in the Q&A?
It's in the Q&A.
I'm going 35 the daily contacts on average. My results are not matching the number of conversations I'm having. Basically, the way that I take that is that they're saying that they're having a lot of conversations, but it doesn't look like their conversion doesn't seem to be where it needs to be based on the number of conversations that they're getting. That's how I interpret it, and that's if that's true. Let's just assume that that is true because you said it. And that being true, that would be a skill thing. That would be okay. It's hard to say what the conversation is. Are you asking questions? What scripts are you using? That would be a little bit difficult to answer just based on the question that you asked, or even not hearing anything about what you're actually doing. So, but I would immediately think if I'm making that type of contacts and I'm not getting results, then it would definitely be something in the conversation that could be looked at. That's what I would say to you. The next one. Working new expireds and canceled. Okay, so you see the progression? We went from circle, rentbo, old expireds. Now we're kind of 3 months in. Now is when we start going back to, or start, I should say, not back to, start focusing on expireds and withdrawns. Everyone wants to start with expireds and withdrawns, but they don't have the reps. They don't have the skills yet. And they get discouraged and they say, that's not really working. And then they go back and do something different. Maybe passive activities to try to get listings like direct mail, which is not bad, but it's what they do. Or they go back to buyers and whatnot. Not bad. It's just, I'm sharing with you that when people start at the end, they end up really kind of getting discouraged. So after you've done this for the last couple of months, then you can start working on new expireds and canceled. And the things that I like about new expireds and canceled is we know a few things about them. Number one, we know that they want to sell. Number two, we know they'll pay a real estate commission. At least that's what it was. That's what they were willing to do before. So it's likely to be that they're willing to do it now. So it's a high quality opportunity that when you call them, the call should be able to result to an appointment. That doesn't mean it always does, but an appointment is very possible and very probable if the right conversation is had. There is the maximum amount of competition. There's the maximum amount of competition. It requires the highest level of skill, and you have to be prepared because these people may be confrontational with you because they got some new agent that they feel is going to promise in the world, but it's going to let them down just like their last agent does. So they're already coming into the process that, or with the mindset that, all you agents are the same. So we don't want to sound the same. It's going to be very, very important that we have good dialogues. And it's why I want you all to get warmed up to the conversations prior to ever going here. But the reality is, it's the highest quality besides a referral. Okay, besides a referral, it's the highest quality opportunity you can get your hands on. It's also requiring the highest level of skill, which all of you can develop if you're having conversations. So if you think about it, what Abe and I shared with you is you add a pillar, one pillar, focus on one pillar. You master that pillar. You continue to work that pillar, and then you add a pillar. You master that pillar, and you continue to work that pillar, and you add a pillar. Master that pillar, continue to work that pillar, and add a pillar. Now, I think Abe used a stool. Now you have the 4 legs of the stool, and it's nice and stable. I will warn you, the challenge that agents have is they all want to run. They think that, you know what? Why don't I just go learn the expires? I can learn it off of YouTube. Go learn it. Practice it. And then apply it and watch how quickly you find yourself unprepared for what's thrown your way. And like anything else, whether it be going from birth to walking, running, and dancing, or anything else we do. Like if you think about like when you may have played a little league sport, or maybe you did some sort of art, guitar or whatnot. I can remember my son learning guitar, and it's like, man, it's like what they were learning in the beginning was like just hitting this one chord. I remember they were not only hitting a chord, they were just trying to form calluses on his fingers in the beginning. Like the least of the concerns were like playing a tune. Like the least of the concerns was converting it into a listing. They were conditioning. They were focusing on the fingers, focusing on muscle memory, focusing on connecting muscle memory with mental memory, connecting the two things. And eventually, they made musicians. There's evidence everywhere where people who have mastered things went through a process. And in our coaching, in our offices, we have people that are getting 20 plus listings a month. It's not uncommon. 10, 8, 7, 5 a month. That's like just kind of basic. But the one thing that I can tell you that's common is they follow the same process. All right, Abe, I know we're kind of coming to we're running out of time. So let's first of all, let's tell them about the promo that we're doing for Agent Success Academy, right? Okay. And maybe Morgan, if you can put that on, that would be very helpful. Okay, good. Thank you for that. So look, again, we're going to finish with a couple points. Before we add those points, I just want to say, look, Abe and I would love the opportunity to coach you and help you start building a listing business. Inside of Agent Success Academy, if you were to go in there today, and those of you that are members, you know this, you can go into Agent Success Academy and look in the library, the archived recordings of all of our coaching calls, and by just looking at the menu, the content, all the different coaching calls, you'll see all the titles. We cover everything when it comes to listing property and getting them sold, like price reductions, negotiations, follow-up, the listing presentation. Gosh, I break down the exact listing presentation and not only share with you what to say, but I share with you what's more important. Why are you saying it? So whether it's teaching you the listing presentation, to prospecting skills for lead generation, building databases, we're covering it. We're covering really everything around listing properties at a higher level because that's what most people would really like to accomplish. So with that being said, there is a promo. Morgan says, if you sign up with the link that's here, you get $200 off your first month by putting in the promo code ELEVATE, which means your first month is $99. It does cost $299 a month for us to coach you. It's a live call every week. We take a few holidays off. I'm not coaching the week of Christmas. Neither is Abe. Probably won't coach the weekend of the week of Thanksgiving. Neither will Abe. But I just want to say, we welcome you to get involved. There's people here that are already posting and saying how much they enjoy being in the coaching. And there's no contract. Look, what's the worst thing that can happen? You pay $99 for a month and you get to listen to Abe and my coaching, 100 coaching calls. You could listen to 100 coaching calls in the next 30 days and then fire us. And it costs you $99 a month. I don't know what to say. If that's not worth the risk, I probably have not explained it well. But with that being said, you know what? I'm just happy you're here. And if you don't sign up for coaching, I'm really hoping that you got some sort of value. Hey, let's land the plane here and finish up and let everybody go. Anything else we need to address?
Yeah, two final points I want to say that I think are really important. So guys, this is, again, the framework for building a listing-based business. There's two things you got to remember. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you take that first buyer call and go out and show them one home and they say, okay, I'll take it. It takes time to actually get some momentum. So when you start doing this, go through the 5 steps as we told you. Give it at least 90 days of daily action for it to start building some momentum. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to show up every single day, just like a fisherman. They don't go out there with yesterday's catch in the boat. Whatever you caught yesterday, you leave back at the house. You're going out there with an empty boat. You're starting at zero every single day and you're going out there fishing. So those are the two things you got to remember. Every single day, you got to show up and go out there and get new business and give it at least 90 days for it to start to develop.
Yeah. And listing is a game of consistency, contacts, and confidence. If you consistently show up and talk to people, meaning contact people, it'll build confidence. And as your confidence grows, so does your conversion and contracts. It's as simple as that. Now, here we are. Now you got to take some action. We've laid out the framework. I wish we could talk for the next 10 hours. No, I'd be too exhausted. I feel like if I could talk 10 hours straight, Abe and I could probably give you a lot more. That's just not realistic. You have to be kind of with us in our coaching program for us to actually be able to do that over time. Thanks, Abe, for agreeing to come on here with me. I know I didn't have to twist your arm. But I do appreciate you, riding co-pilot with me and helping fun through this. We appreciate every single one of you, every one of you for showing up and participating, asking questions, making comments. And we would love to have you in our coaching program, help you get further faster. All right, Abe, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you all. Take care.